Hello, I'm Benjamin Limmer, Bureau Chief for Public Transportation at the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And I'd like to welcome you to Along the Lines, a podcast series where we'll share exciting news and updates and explore current issues and ideas on Connecticut's public transportation system. On this episode of Along the Lines, we often explore the critical role that public transportation systems play in driving economic growth and sustainability across urban, suburban, as well as rural communities. Today, we're going to be discussing the importance of transit-oriented development, or also known as TOD, which is a planning approach which really focuses on creating compact, walkable, mixed-use communities near transit stops and stations, both bus and rail. Joining me today are Elise Greenberg, Transit Manager at the Connecticut DOT, who will share insights into the state's TOD initiatives, as well as Mayor Kevin Scarpati of Meriden, who will discuss the exciting renaissance in Meriden's downtown, which has really been fueled by enhanced access to not only public transportation, but also talk about some of the recently completed projects. So welcome to the program, both of you.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Elise, going to start with you. Can you get into our conversation, start around with an expanded definition of what transit-oriented development really is and a bit about its background?
Transit-oriented development, or TOD, really is a land use or planning model that seeks to have transit and the development around it mutually support and reinforce each other. So it's usually compact, mixed income, mixed use, which includes residential and commercial uses, and also including a street network, looking to minimize use of the car and maximize use of transit and other modes of transportation like walking and biking. So TOD is not necessarily just, and usually isn't, one development, but often starts with one development that can catalyze more. But really, it's more of a long-term endeavor that can take years to build out.
It certainly does. Very helpful background to give some context to this entire episode focused on TOD. Quick follow-up question though, could you talk about the broader state goals as well as the DOT's goals for TOD, especially on DOT owned property or state owned property?
As many people may be aware, the state of Connecticut has broader goals of increasing access to jobs and increasing affordable housing, reducing emissions, and fostering economic development in our economy. And so TOD really is a great way to support all of those broader state goals. And I think what's interesting about our role as a DOT with TOD is that traditionally DOTs aren't an economic development or land use agency, but I always like to say that as a DOT, we put the T in TOD. So our first role is providing the transit infrastructure and transit service. But in order to really see our transit services and the communities around them thrive, we do have a vested interest in promoting TOD. We want to promote TOD to increase our ridership of our transit services. And also we have the goal of, reducing VMT or vehicle miles traveled. The DOT does have a target for reducing VMT. So that's another specific DOT goal that we want to support. And we want to just create livable communities around our services.
Absolutely. So before we bring in the mayor, could you share a bit about the recent federal grant award that CTDOT received, which I understand it helps prioritize TOD sites?
So it's very exciting. Connecticut DOT was recently awarded a $1 million grant from the Innovative Finance and Asset Concession Grant Program, which is a new program offered through the US DOT Build America Bureau. And our grant is looking to prioritize some of our properties. We're calling it the TOD Property Prioritization Program, and look at specifically properties adjacent to our rail stations and conduct a market assessment to really understand what is the potential of these properties for TOD and which ones have the greatest potential to move forward with development in the near term versus which ones maybe have more potential in the longer term. And then also looking at the potential of these properties, not just for TOD, but also joint development, which is a specifically interesting opportunity for DOT because we can partner with a private developer to also incorporate some of our transportation infrastructure, whether it be commuter parking being integrated into the development or some other type of improvement that enhances the station. So we want to also consider which properties have the potential for joint development and then kind of really come up and formulate a strategy in conjunction with prioritizing the property. So it's a really exciting grant opportunity that we're excited to get started on.
Exciting to say the least. Thank you. Well, Mayor, on to you. Welcome. Thank you for your time. Long time no see. I know we got to spend time together a couple times this year and looking forward to more. Meriden's downtown obviously has transformed substantially since the new rail station opened several years ago on the CTrail Hartford Line, which has been wildly successful. Could you share with our listeners just how impactful this major investment in rail public transportation has been for redevelopment efforts within your city?
Thank you for having me. It really has been transformative. So, when the state decided to invest heavily in the rail line, we decided to jump on board, pun intended. And we put all of our eggs in that basket and said, now is the time to help transform our downtown and revitalize those efforts, really literally in and around the train station and the bus station. And so there's a half-mile radius that we've actually called our TOD zone that has its own regulations and everything else to make sure we are being successful for new development. So when it comes to how impactful this has been, we're talking about not just people taking public transportation, but exactly what Elise mentioned in investing heavily in affordable housing in and around this area, redoing our traffic patterns to make it more livable, walkable, and drivable, partnering with so many different agencies across the state. If you could think of an acronym that is listed on the state's website, we've worked with them in some capacity to get this project done. And right across the street from our train station, across from State Street, where we had our press conference just a few weeks ago, is what is now known as the Meriden Green. If you drove through the city of Meriden just a short 10 years ago, it looks completely different today as it does a short decade ago. And that's because of these efforts, both with the state and investing in transportation, but also with the city realizing that we need to do more and invest, recognize that we had a major flood issue in and around the downtown area in Meriden. So we created this Meriden Green that really acts as a floodplain, but also doubles as a beautiful park for the city and residents to enjoy as train growers might get off and also enjoy a walk through the park. So it has really been monumental. And if you haven't seen it, come down and check it out.
Yeah, totally. Listeners out there, often folks think of TOD as just brick and mortar, but I think as you heard directly from the mayor, it's a lot more than that. And how do you create a more livable city for all, which can include parks and walkable communities? That is awesome. Thank you for sharing. Your city has a successful TOD and joint development project on former DOT owned land right across from the train station. Can you tell us more about that and share details on other TOD projects within the downtown area?
Right. So as mentioned, I mean, we had prime real estate, if you will, across the street from this train station. And we worked with DOT and state officials in recognizing that that can be an asset to not just train users and rail users, but also to the greater part of downtown Meriden. So we now have a mixed use development encompassed of over 80 units of housing on the top three floors, over 10,000 square feet of commercial space on the first floor, and right around back is over 200 spaces of public parking that is available then and operated by DOT for railgoers. So we talked about how important it is to utilize that infrastructure to benefit more than just transportation, because now it's benefiting all of our businesses and residents that live, work, and walk downtown. And it has been a tool we've used in attracting business downtown to say, look, we've got ample parking down in this area that is very affordable, if not free at times, for residents to use and access. And that, to be a catalyst, has helped market that property, that area, right along Colony Street and West Main Street, which really encompasses most of our TOD. We've got exciting projects of really just in the next 18 months, we're expecting another 70 units of housing to come online. That's over $10 million of private investment. And then right around the corner on West Main Street, we've got another 50 plus units of housing coming in with a large 35,000 square foot theater that is coming to downtown Meriden, in addition to the over 300 units of housing we've already built downtown. This has really been something that can be on display for the rest of the state in recognizing that if Meriden can do it, so can you.
That's right. And, you make it sound easy, but I know that you encountered several challenges, and through your leadership and your wonderful team there, you all were able to overcome those challenges and get it done. So, curious, what advice will you give to other surrounding cities or towns who would like to build upon and around rail stations and even bus stations?
Yeah, it's difficult, I guess, to summarize the challenges that have gone into this, and it hasn't been perfect, but it really has been about partnerships, and so I can't overstate that enough. But it's also been a long time in the making. So my first thing to any municipality out there looking at TOD regs is you've got to come up with a plan. You can be specific, be bold, but also be patient and realize that it takes time. And so we came up with a plan over 10 years ago in recognizing we needed to do something. And that starts with redoing all of our zoning regulations in and around this area. We had a team that we've worked with consultants on back in 2013 to redo our TOD zoning regulations specifically for this area, targeting old buildings that needed to be rehabbed. And we have a whole portion dedicated to what we call adaptive reuse. We specifically wanted commercial space on the first floor of any new developments coming in, so that residential would be on the second, third, and above floors. And so we wanted to cater to developers and making it easy to come to Meriden. And then we needed to step up and realize we needed to allocate some funding to this also. And so over the years, we've in each of our budget cycles put some money in, but also partnered with state and federal folks to get this job done. So be patient, be bold, be willing to partner with any agency. And if there's one takeaway, it was talked about earlier that TOD, we talk a lot about transit, but that involves people. And so to get the people there, a livable space, having an affordable space is really looking at affordable housing. And Meriden, I'm proud to say over 17% of our housing stock is affordable. Not many municipalities around the state of Connecticut can say that. So to my colleagues around the state, let's do more to make our cities more affordable.
All right, perfect. Elise, back to you. Curious, can you tell us more about any other current TOD projects throughout the state? But I specifically, of course, want to hear about two of our busier rail stations, New Haven and Stamford. What's going on with those?
Yes, so it's been really exciting to see there's been TOD popping up along all of our transit corridors over the last 10 years or so, especially with the introduction of the new Hartford Line service as well as CT Fast Track. But in particular, We're excited at the DOT about specific projects that we've started to set the preliminary stages for, as you mentioned, in New Haven and Stamford. And as Mayor Scarpati mentioned, there there's been a lot of partnerships to make this happen. So in New Haven, we've been partnering with the city to look at procuring a developer to develop the surface commuter lot for New Haven Union Station. We call it the East Lot, but it's directly adjacent to the current Union Station parking garage. And we see there being a much better and higher use of that lot rather than just surface parking. In Stanford, we're doing something similar but a little bit different. As I had mentioned, sometimes we have the opportunity to do TOD as part of a joint development. And so the recently demolished parking garage across from the station on Station Place, it's the footprint of a garage that was built in 1985 that was beyond its useful life, has made way and an opportunity for TOD. But we are also looking at reimagining the station. The station was part of a master planning process for the last few years in partnership with the city and a number of other stakeholders, and coming up with great recommendations and ideas for what the future of the Stanford Transportation Center could be. And so we see this as a great moment where perhaps some of the station or all of the station can be somehow very creatively integrated into the TOD. And so we are starting the processes of finding a developer that may be interested in that as well. So those are our first two real projects that we're trying to get underway on our state properties. But as I mentioned, we're looking to do more through this grant and position ourselves to continue looking at other properties that we have and coming up with much better and higher uses on the land that we own adjacent to our stations.
Quick follow-up question, really about social equity, sustainability. We know that they're critical aspects of our overall program within the DOT. Can you talk about why TODs are so important in our goals of creating more equitable, livable, sustainable communities?
So TOD really speaks to sustainability and equity and intertwines both in a beautiful way. TOD is all about creating transportation and housing choices. It seeks to provide people with more freedom and mobility options, especially underserved communities that may not have access or the ability to own a car and so want to have other alternatives such as using transit or walking or biking. It also, as we've mentioned, looks to provide more affordable housing options and have them even closer to transit. And I think this is becoming an increasingly important issue given the national housing crisis that we're currently in. TOD is also looking at reducing emissions and reducing urban sprawl, which for those of that don't know, urban sprawl is really the when development extends out into undeveloped land, and that forces us to build out more infrastructure and extend resources outward rather than reinvesting in our existing downtown areas and community centers.
Excellent. Finally, Mayor, the renaissance that's taken place that you've talked about within downtown Meriden has been remarkable. So, have some of the food options that you've suggested to me personally. But what do you think has made these efforts so successful in both attracting not only new residents but new businesses to the area?
Yeah, thank you. I think part of it has been really our persistence around making sure that we're not doing half the job. We're seeing it all the way through. And so if we start a project and we've committed to that project, that we're actually going to get that done on time. And the state expects us to do that when we're collecting or receiving state funds, and our residents expect us to do that. And so that now they're able to see it. We've actually committed it and have done the work. So it's really been exciting for the residents to enjoy a summer concert down on the green, or dine out at a restaurant, or be able to jump on the train very conveniently right here in downtown Meriden go up to Hartford, down into Haven, and beyond into New York and or Massachusetts as needed. So it's really been making sure our residents understand how important this is, getting their buy-in and their support, and then marketing around all the work we've done. It's been an economic development driver for us. We're starting to see a lot of those what were vacant or empty storefronts start to fill up, and it's been an exciting time here in Meriden to be able to have some great conversations with new business owners and developers, and bringing in what was just public partnerships to now being a public-private partnership, and getting those private developers and investment right here in downtown Meriden. And so to anyone who might think this is overwhelming, give us a call, take a ride through, check it out. But you've got to start somewhere, and there's no better place to start than one, listening to this podcast, and two, creating a plan.
Well, there you have it. Thank you for the podcast plug. If you haven't seen the progress in downtown Meriden, listeners, go hang out in the beautiful park downtown, visit the new businesses, check out a couple of the restaurants. I can certainly give suggestions there, as well as the mayor certainly can, and see the transformation firsthand for yourself. I'd like to express this huge thank you to our guests, Elise Greenberg and Mayor Scarpati, for engaging me in such an insightful conversation today.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
It has been proven in our state, as well as across the country, that TOD fosters vibrant, accessible, and sustainable neighborhoods, creating an environment where people can live, work, and socialize all without needing a car. TOD continues to be a vital part of our state's efforts to provide mobility choice, encourage economic growth, as well as create a more livable and walkable and sustainable community. This type of development has also helped to reduce traffic congestion, air pollution, as well as energy consumption. So we do look forward to highlighting more of these success stories to show how they can provide for more equitable communities and improve access to jobs, education, and services all across the state. I'm Ben Limmer. Join us next time for another episode of Along the Lines. Thanks for listening to this episode of Along the Lines. This is your host, Benjamin Limmer. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe and share.